Okay, so now we're recording. Just note the chat is not recorded. Only what we're seeing on video and on the main screen is going to be recorded. So you can put anything you want in the chat. Still want to be nice to each other, but anything you want to put in the chat, and the whole world won't see that. That's, I wouldn't call it private because we can all see it, but the rest of the world won't. So anyway, welcome to statistics. So this is not what I expected it to be when I signed up for this, but we do what we have to do. This is not an official online class, but it's an online class. So my name is Larry.
Hey, Larry.
And, welcome. And again, this is a face-to-face class, but it's not really. What we're calling it is an EVE class. I don't know if you've heard that word before. Enhanced Virtual Environment. It means EVE, or at least that's what we call it. And I want to mention a few things about it. And again, don't get mad at me for any of this. I did not start the coronavirus, I promise. I was not in Wuhan, or however you pronounce that town. But we're not coming back. Yeah, that is not happening. So we're not coming back to Lake Tahoe Community College for the rest of the academic year. Okay, that's been announced, and again, not my decision, but that's what's been decided. So we're going to be doing this whole class in this manner. I have pleaded with them, but I think they're going to say no to allow the final exam at least to be proctored on campus, but they pretty much said no. So we're not even doing that. This is going to be a fully online class. So the good news for some people, I've already gotten a couple of emails from a different class, that if for some reason, financially or whatever, you can't be in Tahoe, that's fine. Because all you have to do is have internet access. If you don't have internet access, there is a plan B, but it's not so good. And that is come to the outside of the college with your laptop, and they have internet access, and you can do that. You just can't go into the door. Okay, but just in case, that's the only thing you can do if you don't have internet access is go to the outside of the parking lot of the college, park your car, get your laptop out, and then you can do everything in the class. So again, it is what it is. That's all I can say. Let me tell you the plan today, and I think I'm going to share my desktop. Okay, so here's the plan of what we're doing. So a couple things. We're in the Zoom environment right now. One of the nice things, there's a couple nice things. One is that I'm able to share my desktop. You can see any of the things I've got going. And I'll be using this. I used to use Paint, but now I'm going to try using Google Doc, because I'm pretty good with Google Doc also. And I just realized, has a kind of a Paint feature also. And it has an equation editor, so that's nice. So I'll probably use Google Docs for typing and stuff. So you should be able to see that now. And the plan today is we're going to start out with talking about the syllabus for this course, what this course is all about, and just kind of introducing ourselves, kind of mentioning who we are. Again, something that some of you, again, this is not expected ahead of time that you all know how to use the online tools, but we're there, so we got to use the online tools. So I'm going to go over them as much as I can, and I'll be around a lot to answer any questions. After doing the syllabus and introductions, we got statistics to do. So this is actually a long class. It goes for 2.5 hours. I don't know if I'll spend the whole 2.5 hours. If we do, we'll have a break in the middle for sure. But we'll spend a big chunk of time so that I can go over statistics and kind of what it's about, how it works, why people care, how to do best on what can't be done perfectly, It's one of the weird things about stats. It's not like other math classes. You get the answer, you're done, you circle it, and you smile, and you say, I've got it right, it's perfect. With statistics, it's never perfect. But we're going to learn how do you do the best we can possibly do, or at least the best we can possibly do with the resources we have. So I'll talk about statistics, and then we'll talk about sampling. So that's kind of the whole point of this class, actually, is to be able to get data from a sample and then say, what does this data reveal about the population, and how accurate, how reliable is this data? Okay, is it misleading us, or is it leading us right? How is it doing? So one of the things we're going to be talking about today, after talking about statistics, is we'll be talking about how do you find a sample that's reliable. And that's a tough one, by the way. Not mathematically tough, it's tough in life kind of tough. Okay, and then what we're going to do is I'll just get into frequency tables. And we'll get a few things with that. So I want to mention this is a Zoom feature. So let's see. I want you to put into the chat box. And I think always hard for you to see everything at once. So I want you to put in the chat box either yes, you've used Zoom before, and that could have been yesterday with the class that you took, or no, I've never used Zoom before. And Zoom is what we're in now, by the way. This whole, when you hear me talking, you can see me, you can see my desktop, all that kind of stuff. So I want you to put that in the chat box. And let's see how we are as a group. Okay. All right, so most of you, it looks like, say yes, okay? And by the way, it's a very much yes for me. I'll talk about, I mean, when I get to the syllabus, I'll talk about myself a little bit and why in a way you're fortunate a bit. So most of you used it, which is good. And of course, all of those that put something in the chat box know how to use the chat box at least, and that's a good thing. We're gonna be using the chat box a lot. So it's important if you have trouble with anything, I'm happy to help you out and just ask questions. The other thing you can do is you can talk. So some of you are on mute right now, but you can unmute yourself and you can talk. I do want to let you know that this is recorded, so the talking will be recorded, but again, nobody cares. Nobody cares. I never heard of anyone getting hurt because of a Zoom talk or something, because I'm going to post this on YouTube, but again, it's not like anyone's going to kill you because they saw you on YouTube. That's not going to happen. Okay. But you are able to talk and have conversations with me.
That's what I did when I started.
What's that?
I can actually do something. I only just keep the easiest way to keep my hand.
Okay, I think somebody's got something in the background. If you have something in your background, in fact, you should mute yourself if you're not talking, and then unmute yourself when you're ready to talk. Is your best bet. Otherwise, we get to hear your background communication, which isn't always so good, and could be embarrassing for you. I've had that happen in the past, where I hear, "Oh my God, they're talking about something none of us should be hearing right now." So it's a little safer to mute yourself unless you're ready to talk about something about this class. Okay, but I do want to really encourage you to ask questions anytime you have one throughout this this webinar. Webinar, by the way, is what we're in now, if you haven't heard that word before. So let's go to the syllabus. The first thing is, let me double check. When you first enter this class, you're going to be using Canvas. So one more time, put in the chat box. Yes, if you've used Canvas before. No, if you haven't used Canvas before. Okay, I'm seeing a lot of yeses. Okay. By the way, if you don't like Canvas, you actually can blame me for that, partially at least. Many years ago, I was on the committee, the statewide California committee, to select Canvas as the learning management system for California. And we chose it basically because it was easy. I don't have to do much explaining at all on how to use it. But if you ever do have any questions on anything you need to be able to do with Canvas, I'm also kind of the college expert. In fact, Thursday, we're going to end a little bit early because, and we might always end up a little early because it's kind of long to go on to do a Zoom session for 2.5 hours. But Thursday, we're going to end up a little bit early because I've been asked by the state of California to give a Zoom webinar for California math faculty on how to use Canvas, because they know I'm the one that knows how to do it with math. So I've been using Canvas longer than just about anybody in California for math faculty. So the good news is I'm experienced, okay? Whether you want to be online or not, the good thing is I'm not going to like say, God, I don't even know how to do this. I really do know how to do online. I've been teaching statistics online, I think 15 years now, something like that. So you were probably, some of you were probably like, I don't know, not even in school yet because you were too young, maybe still in diapers when I first was teaching statistics online. So the good thing is because I've been teaching it online so long, I have a lot of resources for you guys to be able to learn in this environment. Okay, whereas in the face-to-face, I've also been teaching face-to-face forever. But that's the good news about this. So when you go to Canvas, the first thing that'll appear this week is going to be the syllabus. That's going to change next week, and I'll show you what it'll change too. But this week, I think this is the most important thing to go to. So I want to make sure that's the first page you see. And there's a syllabus. So first thing is, this is Math 201, and it's called Elementary Statistics. And I want to let you know this is not an easy class. And in particular, it takes a lot of time. So make sure that you put a lot of time into your schedule. So one thing, this is not even a 4-unit class, it's a 5-unit class, which means it's chunkier than regular classes. The reason why it's a 5-unit class is this is the semester transfer class, basically. So we have to make sure that we have all the information that is given in the transfer level class that's typically taught in 18 weeks, and we have to teach it in 12 weeks because we're on the quota system. So again, it's just what we are. The good news about it is because it's in 12 weeks you'll be done. So it'll go faster. But you're going to have to put a lot of effort into this class. So if you only have an hour a week or 2 hours a week to work on this class, you probably want to drop it and then retake it at a time where you have more time, okay, at a different quarter. But you do have to make sure you have a lot of time in your schedule for this. So I want to give you the warning ahead of time. Okay, and again, if anyone has questions, ask me as we go. But first thing, I've talked about basic stuff. My name is Larry. I guess I should tell you a little of myself. This is my 24th year at Lake Tahoe Community College teaching math. So I've been doing it longer than some of you have been alive, probably. Again, I don't know how old y'all are. Before that, I taught at Sonoma State University. So I did that as a 80% time instructor. So not quite full-time, which means I needed a real job that was a full-time job. And that's why I went to LTCC, and I love the mountains. So I was happy to come to LTCC, but I like Sonoma State too. Before that, I was at UCLA. And I was a graduate student there. They also let me teach my last year. But the good news is, if you have any questions about our California public college university system, I've done it all. I've done the Cal States, I've done the UCs, and I've done the community colleges. And that's our system. If you want to know about private universities, you probably need to ask someone else, because I don't know about that. Or out of state, I don't know much about out of state. But I know our California system as well as you can get, because I've been in all of it, either teaching or being a student. That's my experience. And I guess I should probably get rid of this, but I was like hopeful that we might come back to the college. They might let me in one of these days, I'm not allowed to go in, by the way. It's not just you all. I'm not even allowed in the college. But I'm hopeful that maybe one of these days, maybe in May or something, they'll let me back in. So I did leave my phone number here, but I'm not answering this number because I'm not allowed in there at the phone. So phone number is not the best way to get a hold of me. Just let you know that. Better, much better, is via email. And this is the email I use. It's my private email, drlarrygreen@gmail.com. You can also use the inbox on the left-hand part of Canvas, and that will also get to this email. So whichever you want, whatever's easier for you. Again, then you don't have to remember the email. You can just click the inbox and you can find me on the email list and email me. Okay, any questions so far? Any questions? Okay, just to let you know, as I mentioned, we're in Zoom. And the way I've set it up, and hopefully it'll be okay, is that I use the same link for all of our Zoom sessions. So you're in now, which means you know how to get in here. And that link that you used will always work. The only danger of that is, I just heard this week, there's like just idiot monsters coming in and like using the link and then posting porn and all kinds of terrible, horrible, like evil stuff. I hope that doesn't happen. What's that?
I'm looking for a little entertainment.
We don't want that. We do not want that kind of entertainment.
No, the FBI has issued pretty big warnings about what's going on with Zoom, so they're really trying to crack down on it.
Yeah, I hope so. Are you in the FBI?
No, I'm not. I'm in this class with you, and I'm happy to be here.
No, but you could be like looking for the next degree or something. I don't know.
Oh no, but I mean it's a really big issue, and for us, big deal if it happens. We're pretty grown up. However, it's happening in the high school kids classes and the elementary school kids classes.
Oh yeah.
That's what's the big deal.
Yeah, yeah. It actually happened in one of our webinars at our college.
Really?
I wasn't there, but I heard about it. Yeah, it's like, give me a friggin' break.
Right, right. I mean, we all have time for it, I guess.
Yeah, no, because you're going to be too busy doing statistics.
Supersize.
So anyway, let's hope that doesn't happen. So, but I'd rather have it easy for you to find the link and know how to get in than having to do a new link every time, even though it's a little safer from the Zoom bangers, whatever you call these people. So that's the good news, is that it'll be easy. The bad news is I'm not preventing evil people. So hopefully they don't come. Other good news is, because I've been teaching online forever, is I have created online materials for this class for a very long time. Every year I add more helpful information to be able to learn statistics. So I'm prepped. I am like the online instructor. And the good news is that it's not that hard for me to say, okay, well, it was a face-to-face and now it's online. It might be hard for you guys, but for me, this was an easy course to transition to online because I teach online anyway. So what I have is, one thing is I have full-length YouTube lectures. So let me click on that. So this is a playlist, and I have a YouTube station, by the way. You can, if you want to subscribe to me, you can, and then you'll see like a whole lot more stuff on stats and some calculus and other things too, but mostly stats. And there are actually 13 of these. Any guess on why there's 13? It's not because it's some bad luck number. Any guesses?
13 weeks?
It's a good guess, except we have 12 weeks of this class. There's 13 chapters in the book. So what I've done is I have created a full-length lecture for each of the chapters of the book. Okay, I did a long time ago, so I made sure that I didn't do any current events at the time, so that it wouldn't get old. So it should still be relevant and useful and all that. Okay, so that's one piece of helpful piece that we've got. I've also created short videos. Some people don't want to watch an hour video, okay? But you're welcome to. And again, if it helps, please do it. I want you guys to do well, and whatever helps you learn is what you should do. So these are short videos. I'll tell you how you're mostly going to be using these. These are introductory videos. Okay, so these are like little 2-minute videos about the week. Okay, and I do that for my online class, which whether we like it or not, we're in it now. That was not what I expected. Okay, and I also have videos of worked out problems. It's a different video YouTube playlist that I've created. You're going to be using these most of the time during your homework. Your homework's online. Okay, and by the way, it was online anyway, so that's not changing at all. Your homework's online, and in most of the homework problems, there's going to be links to one of these videos, or sometimes a couple of these videos, where you'll be able to watch a video that gives you an example that's somewhat similar. It's not just the same example with different numbers, but it's going to be conceptually the same. Okay, so Kamal, yes, what if you don't have a calculator? I'm going to talk about that in a little bit. So hold on to that thought, and I promise we'll get to it. Again, we officially have 2 more hours, so 2 hours and 3 minutes. I doubt I'll need 2 hours and 3 minutes for today, because I think I might kill you with that amount of time. We'll see. Okay. So these are short videos, and they're going to be linked from the homework. So students find out those really useful, and I'll show you later what the homework looks like. Okay, so anyhow, that's another YouTube playlist I made. I decided to put these on YouTube instead of directly into Canvas. And the reason is that way you can, YouTube never dies. You can always get into YouTube, and they make sure the videos, even if the technology changes, that nothing goes wrong. Okay, so that's why I like YouTube. Okay, I also have applets. And most of these we're going to be, the main ones we're going to be using, we'll be using later on. It's a little too early to even talk about it because we haven't had the statistical background to even understand what they're doing, okay, or how to answer the questions or whatever they're doing. So I'm not going to show you that. If they don't say new, your computer may not be able to open it because of security issues, okay? I promise you I have not put viruses on any of these, but computers get paranoid if they're old, and some of these are old. But I do want to show you all the different things that we've got. Okay, so the next thing is very important, and that's a textbook. So one of the things, kind of my mission in life for the last 4 years or so, has been to make sure that nobody has to drop a class because they can't afford the textbook or the homework materials. Okay, my own background, I came out of poverty, and it was tough. Fortunately, I had financial aid. In my day, the financial aid was a lot better than in this day. Sorry about that. It was good to be poor then, I guess. But I understand what it's like to not have finances. So there is no cost at all for any of the book, for the books or the homework or anything else in this class. Okay, so there is no cost whatsoever. And what I did is I adopted a textbook. And even Anna, you haven't seen this part, not the whole thing. I adopted a textbook that was written by Barbara Lowski, who is actually a friend of mine, but that's not, I didn't do it because she's a friend. I did it because it was a good book. And OpenStax made it work. OpenStax is funded by Bill and Melinda Gates and a few other big hitters. And the good news is they have money. So they're able to take that money and make it all work and be reliable and all that kind of stuff. But then what I did is I am on a different project called the LibreText project, which is a nationally funded project. It's government nationally funded. And what I have done is I have made these multimedia and interactive instead of just a book. Okay, there is, in case you have some visual disability or something or whatever, and you can't do, you can't watch things move, then you can always, I can show you where the old book is, and then you can still be able to learn from it. But this one, I don't think there'll be a real problem. You can just skip the things that I put in if you want to. So, for example, if you go to chapter 1, that's what we're doing today, by the way. Then these are the sections that we'll be talking about, and notice what kind of an intro of what we're doing today. So basically I'm starting with 1.2, introduction, there's not much there. And that is some definitions about statistics. And then we're gonna be talking about sampling and data. Then we're gonna be looking at frequency tables. That's the main thing. Okay, so that's the plan. And by the way, just to show you, if you click on frequency table, okay, there's not too much involved in this particular chapter. It's mostly language. But if you scroll right here, I am a coder. I'm a computer programmer. I've been programming computers for 30 years or so, something like that. So a very long time. In fact, I even had an internet company where we made web pages before people knew what a web page was. And have you heard of have you ever heard of an internet shopping cart? That was my idea. I made the first one. So with my company. So that was one thing I did. What I didn't do was patent it. Otherwise I'd be a billionaire, but I blew it. So we all make mistakes. So I've been doing that forever. So I coded. So this is an example frequency table, which we'll talk about later, later. And you can do that. And then in here, I think it's in this one too. No, it was towards the beginning. I went too fast. I think that's it actually. This week doesn't have a lot, but I was going to answer Kamal's question in a different way, and I'll answer that in a second too. If I go back to the book, and let me just kind of answer your question, Kamal, in a different way, at least for now, and this will work. If we go to a chapter 2, which we're going to be doing Thursday, by the way. And for example, you go to measures of the spread of the data. What I did was I coded the calculator. So if you don't have a calculator right now, you can use this one. And what I did is I embedded the parts of the calculator that you need when you need it in the book. So here is the standard deviation calculator. You just type in a bunch of numbers. Again, if you don't know what standard deviation, that's fine. We're going to be talking about that Thursday. If you don't know what the word standard deviation is by the final exam, you will fail this class because it's like the most important thing. But it's not on day 1. It's on day 2, just to let you know. So if I do, I don't know, 5, 6, 1, 8, and I have to choose the population sample, let's pretend it's a sample, and I hit calculate, and there's the standard deviation. So what I've done is I've coded where you need it, the calculator to work in the book. So that's all available. I used JavaScript. If you haven't heard of it, that's okay. But the good thing about JavaScript is, at least in theory, it should work on any device. It should work on a Mac, it should work on a PC, it should work on your smartphone, whatever you've got, and it'll just work. So this is the book, and you do want to read through the book. Okay, and one more thing in the book. Let me talk about something else. I can get to even chapter 1, because that's where we are. And I think I put it in the introduction, if I remember right. I'm trying to remember. you'll see a video. So I'm trying to reinvent the book, whether you like it or not. My feeling is that books were invented, you know, what, thousands of years ago or whatever. And we're in a new society with technology. And why should we be static? So my feeling is we should have videos, we should have multimedia. I programmed some games into the book. So it's not a traditional book. It has all kinds of extras. So if you click this, this is the embedded YouTube video. I told you there's one for every chapter, so this is that chapter video. All those other little videos that I had, those are in different sections. And they're embedded into the book. So it's a different kind of book than you might be used to because it's interactive and multimedia. So any questions, again, anytime, please ask questions. Okay, now I'll go back to the syllabus. I do want to spend some time about the book because the book is a big part of the class. Okay, course description, student learning outcomes. I'm not going to read it word for word, but basically we are going to be looking at data and we're going to see what we can learn from the data. And if you understand everything and all this stuff, you probably shouldn't be here because that means you know this class. So we'll get there another time. I graded a 90, 80, 70, 60 standard scale. And in terms of the course grade, 10% will be the online assignments, and 10% will be in-class quizzes. I'll talk about that in a moment. I know that feels weird in this environment, but we're making it work. And then 15% will be exam 1, 15% will be exam 2, 15% will be project 1, 15% will be project 2, and 20% will be the final exam. And that's how the course is. Now I'm going to talk about each of those. Okay, and again, ask questions if you have them. In terms of webinars, we're going to have webinars at regular class times. So this is, again, this is an EVE class, not an online class. What that means is that you signed up for this class not to be online. So what I can assume is that you can still make the time. Okay, even though we can't get to the location that we were originally supposed to go to, and we have to do this online, the time itself that you're supposed to have the time for, because you signed up for it and knew it was going to be this time. Okay, I probably won't go 2.5 hours, you know, 2 hours, 25 minutes, but you can only talk so long. It gets really lonely. Got to have a little, you know, once in a while. That's my cat. That you wouldn't have seen if it was a face-to-face class. Okay, but anyway, so we're going to have webinars at every class unless we have a midterm or, you know, or a final. Then you're just going to take the midterm or final. Okay, the exam policy. What I'm going to tell you about the exam policy is I don't know yet. So I kind of apologize. This is the part that's new to me, because even in my online class, I had my students go to a proctor center to take it. And that means that's not going to work anymore because our college is closed. It doesn't do proctoring. And if you're in a different, if you want to go to the public library and get proctoring, they're closed. Everybody is closed. So proctoring is not happening. So we'll probably use Proctorio, but I got to figure out how to make everything work because we can't do this class without a calculator, okay, or a computer calculator. So I got to figure out how to make that work with Proctorio, and I'm not there yet, but I promise I will be. I'm working real hard at it. And by the way, so are the rest of the statistics professors. There's a lot of us, and we're all having the same issues. So we're going to come up with a solution, but I can't tell you what it is yet. So even this 3x5 note card, I don't know if that's going to work online. So kind of for now, ignore the exam policy piece. Other than grading is going to be based by the progress towards the final answer. So just note something about the exam. The exam will be a written or typed exam. Okay, it's not multiple choice. It's not write down a number and that's your answer and either the number's right or not. You're going to be writing sentences. Okay, and that I know how to do. Okay, I'm going to do that in Canvas, and I'll show you that. In fact, we're going to do that on Thursday even, and I'll mention that in a minute too. So you do want to practice writing things out. And we'll get to practice that twice a week. Okay. For online assignments, the assignments are officially due on Sundays, but you should aim to finish by Friday, or you should aim to finish even better by whenever that next session is going to be, which I'm going to test you on. So for example, there are chapter 1 assignments. There's a chapter 1 assignment, and you're going to have a quiz on chapter 1 in 2 days on Thursday. So you want to finish the chapter 1 assignment online so that when you take the quiz, you'll be able to answer the questions. Okay, hopefully that makes sense. So if you can't finish it by Sunday, but if you know by Friday that you're not going to be able to finish by Sunday, I'll give you an extension. I like to reward people who are not procrastinators. Okay, but I do know that schedules get in the way. So the idea is try and get everything done by Friday. And then if you realize it's not going to happen, send me an email saying, can I have an extension? If you send it on Friday or earlier, I'll say yes. If you send it after Friday, I'll say no. Okay. So that's kind of my policy. In terms of the exams, in terms of, the homework, it's a bunch of problems. I'll show you what it looks like in a bit, but you'll be able to redo the problems. You'll get a different version of each problem, and because I've set it that way in the new settings, and you'll get a different version of the problem, and your highest score for each question is the one that gets recorded. So if you hit do a new version after getting 50% on something, and then you get 80%, then it's going to remember 80%. But then if you say, I want to do better, and you do hit a new version and you get 70%, then it'll still say 80% because it remembers the highest. So the idea is you should do well on these assignments because you can keep going until you get them right. Okay. In-class quizzes. Okay, so this is something I'm trying. I've never done this before, but actually for you guys, it'll be the second time for me because I'm doing it in my calculus class tomorrow. And for you guys, Thursday will be the first day. I didn't feel comfortable giving you a quiz today. Do you feel like you're ready for a quiz today? On statistics? Yeah, I don't think so. Okay, I don't think that would be fair. But I do feel that it's fair to give you one on Thursday of the material that I'm covering today. So there's going to be an in-class quiz, and here's what we're going to do. 1 o'clock, you're going to log on to the webinar. I'm going to say hi. I'm going to take any quick questions. And then at 1:05, you're going to go onto Canvas, and you're going to go and take the quiz. The quiz is timed. At 1:25, the quiz turns off. At 1:25, I will be on Zoom to do a lecture. So there's going to be like a 5-minute just hello, and then you do the quiz, and then you come back to Zoom, and we'll spend a couple hours or however long, an hour and a half or something, doing a lecture. I haven't tried this before, but I was like trying to make this as close to a regular class as I can get. And this is how I do regular classes. Is we kind of start out the class, I say hello, and then I hand a paper quiz. Everyone does it on paper. And then when you're all done with the quiz, I will go over the quiz, and then I lecture. So I'm trying to do the same thing online. Okay, so if you have accommodations needed, and if you want the extra time for quizzes, now quizzes aren't that many points, so you may not care that much, then you send me an email saying, please give me extra time. And make sure the DRC's emailed me also. I have a list of people. Again, everything is private, so I'm not gonna mention names or anything. And then I will change the time for you on Canvas. Instead of starting at 1:05, it'll start however early it needs to start so that you have the accommodations met. So hopefully that makes sense. And that's how it's going to start. But it's still going to be a time certain. The time certain isn't an accommodation thing. The amount of time is the accommodation. So that's how I'm going to do it. And so you're going to start a little earlier. Hopefully that'll work. Okay. I could let you go later, but the problem is that that's lecture time and then you're missing lecture. So earlier makes more sense. Okay, so that's the quizzes. And they'll happen, by the way, every single time there isn't an exam. So you're not going to take an exam and a quiz on the same day. That's silly. So if there isn't an exam, we're going to do a quiz. And again, there are usually a couple problems. My hope is that most of you finish early, actually, and get some water or something in between the quiz and start a lecture. Because it only takes 15 minutes maybe, and you got 20 minutes. But we'll see. It's hard for me to judge exactly how much time it's going to take y'all. Okay, then there's projects. This class has 2 projects. Right now, I'm not going to get into the details on what you have to do for the projects because they're going to be on statistics and we haven't even talked about that yet. But here's what I will tell you is that the projects must be worked in partnerships. And this is a little awkward in a class that turned an Eve class, again, in an Eve class, it's a little awkward, but we can still make it work. The good news is, again, I've been teaching online so long that I know how to make it work. So here's what I've done. If you go to discussions right there, you will see project 2. In fact, I should probably move. Oh, won't let me. You'll see project 2 discussion board and project 1 discussion board. What you should do is you should go to project 1 discussion board, right? Within a day or 2. Hit reply. Say, I need a partner. And then, or if someone else has already said I need a partner, reply to that person, say, let's be partners. And then you can form a partnership. In terms of the projects, strongly recommend you get a group of 3. You can't do more than 3 or less than 2. So you're 2 or 3, and 3 is better than 2 because you're going to turn one project in as a group. And if you only have 2 of you, you have to do half the project. If there's 3 of you, you only have to do a third of the project. What sounds better? Okay, hopefully y'all know. I'd rather only have to do a third of it. Okay, and have help from 2 other people instead of only 1. So look at it that way. So strongly recommend there's 3 of you, but I do allow 2. 1 is not okay. Okay, you can't work on projects alone. If there's 4, split into 2 groups of 2, and then ask to see if someone wants to join to make a third. Any questions on that? So by the way, you do that, you type in, just to show you how it works, I need a project partner. Okay, and if there's any information you need to say about what you're looking at, you're welcome to do that too. And then you hit post reply. I'm not going to do that because I don't need a project partner. I'm the professor. But you hit post reply, I hit cancel, and then it'll pop on up. And you always want to look to make sure it worked, just in case some internet weird thing happened after you hit reply. And then if you see somebody that needs a partner and you need a partner, reply to theirs and say, let's be partners. And you can be partners. Okay. Any questions on how that works? Does each group member get the same grade? Yes. So each group member gets the same grade. So work together and, you know, make sure that you read the whole paper. Even the parts you didn't write, you should read it so that you can fix the things that need fixed because your grade depends on it. And that way you're all in it together. I feel that that's realistic. I mean, my guess is even though you're working at home now and all alone, okay, most of you have had jobs and you work together in jobs, right? Okay, there are very few jobs where you're all by yourself and you need to work together. That's how it works. So I feel that this is an important life skill also, is how do you work together to get things done. Okay, so we got a question. What happens when someone drops a class? This is why you have 3 people. So if you have 3 people and someone drops a class, now you have 2 and you're still okay. If you have 2 people and someone drops a class, you're screwed. So that's why you want 3, okay? And if you have 3 and someone drops a class, then post again saying, hey, anyone want to join us and be our 3rd, we just lost whoever. Does that make sense, Michelle? Yeah, so that's another reason why 3 is strongly recommended. And people do drop the class. I have never been in this environment before where it was officially a face-to-face class that's online. So I don't know what our numbers are going to be like in terms of dropping. We might have more success because here's the reason, and maybe none of you are in this situation, but my guess is some of you are, is some of you probably used to have jobs, but now you're not working anymore. And you're probably sitting around with nothing to do except read depressing news. So instead of reading depressing news, work hard on statistics. Okay, it might be just as painful, but it's gonna like help you in your future a lot more than reading depressing news to actually do a lot of statistics. Okay, so that's my recommendation. So I think that we might actually have a better pass rate than a regular online class because I think people have more time because we're all stuck. Okay. In fact, I think no matter, even if you're somewhere else in the world, in a different country, you're still stuck. Everyone's stuck. Okay, and we're not getting out of this. I've done the mathematical modeling and it's not pretty. So be ready to stay at your house for many months. Okay, sorry. But don't get mad at me, I've just done the math. And this is gonna happen a long time. The other thing you wanna do on this project discussion forum is post your questions about it. So if you're stuck on a project, if you don't know what to do on doing something in it, then, or if you don't even know if your project's gonna work, post and say, hey, is this gonna work? That's better than emailing me. If you email me, I'm gonna just tell you to post because that way other people can see the frustrations and the stuff and the solutions to issues that happen on projects. And you'll be able to read other people's issues so that you can find out how to solve that issue that someone else got solved, you know, where I helped that person. Or maybe Anna helped that person, which I'll get to in a minute. I promise, Anna. Okay, office hours. This was very wishful thinking. My office hours are not in A210. That's my official office. I am not allowed in that room. It's not just you guys, I'm not allowed at the college either. So my office hours are right where we are right now. I shouldn't call them office hours even, I shouldn't even call them office hours. I should really call them living room hours because that's where I'm at. I'm in my living room right now. And so I won't be in my office because I'm not allowed in my office and you're not allowed in my office either. So, but I will be on the Zoom Monday, Wednesday, Friday from 10:10 to 11:10. Just to let you know, if you join Zoom, if you go in earlier than 10:10, it'll be painful for you. Any guess on why? For most of you, it'll be painful because you're going to have to listen to calculus lecture. Because from 8:30 to 10:10, I'm giving a calculus Zoom lecture for my calculus class. So just a warning, if you come early, you get to learn calculus, which can be painful for most of you. Okay, I thought a couple of you recognized it. Most of you won't want to see it, I promise. So you do want to wait until 10:10. Okay. This Thursday, as I mentioned, is going to be a little different. Oh no, sorry. No, sorry, it's the same. It's just after class. But these are my office hours. If anything changes, I'll let you know. They're going to be in Zoom. I'm here to help you out. Unlike these webinars, though, office hours are not recorded. So if you have any privacy issues, there's no issue. It won't be our conversations on office hours will not be posted on YouTube. Okay, other people won't know about them unless they're your classmates who are, you know, going to office hours also. Okay. All right, calculators and computers. Okay, this is a tough one because I'm in Newgrounds here. So we have TI 84 pluses in the library. Now you are not allowed to go into the library, but you are allowed to get a TI 84 plus calculator. And the way you do that, in fact, I think I still have it here. Thought I had it, maybe I took it out already. No, it's not here anymore. The way you do that is you contact the library and you say, I need a calculator. And then they'll set up an appointment for you to go to the outside of the building and pick up the calculator. Okay, you're not allowed in the building, but there'll be a table set up to pick up a calculator. Okay, not only can you pick up a calculator, but you could pick up a computer. That kind of cool? The college has bought 200. There's a link to request books and calculator on the Coyote app. Good, good. Okay. I'm not a big app person, I'm more of a computer person, but I figured there probably is. So that's what you can do, and not just calculators and books, even if it doesn't say so on the Coyote app, computers also. Okay. I may have to be part of the request for the computer, but just ask me, I'll make it happen for you, because you need a computer for this class. You can't pass this class without one. Thanks, Anna. So there's a link. Anna, can you not make it private so everyone can see it? There, that's much better. So just to let you know, the college bought hundreds of Chromebook computers, and any student is welcome to come by the college. You have to in advance let them know, because what they're doing is they're separating people out so you don't have a lot of people come at once. So you make an appointment to come by the college, pick up a Chromebook, you get to keep it for the entire quarter. So if you don't have a computer to use, you have a computer to use, you just have to go to the college. If you, for some reason, don't live at the college, don't live in Tahoe, I think I do have a couple of you, because even though it's not officially an online class, it still works. You're not allowed to drive up to Tahoe. It's against the law. Sorry. New laws. That'll change eventually, but right now the city council has said no one's allowed to come. So sorry. But those of you who are in Tahoe, you should be able to pick these up. Okay. Any questions at all on this? Okay, there is another choice also, and that is right here. So what I have done, and I'll pop this in, I'll hit share. That is the link to what I'm about to show you. So what I have done, as I mentioned, I'm a computer programmer. Okay, it's kind of what I do for fun. I know I'm a weird person. Sorry about that I'm weird, but it's sometimes good for y'all. Is that I'm a programmer, and I had a good time. I spent, I think, probably 200 hours programming this sucker. There's a lot of work, but I had a good time with it. And what I did is I made sure that it's a Google. I see all these. Let's see, we got an anonymous alligator, an anonymous crow, and an anonymous dragon just popped in. And what you're going to want to do is the very first thing you do once you're here. So alligator, crow, and dragon. You're going to go to File. You got to go to Make a Copy. You can name it anything you want, and then hit OK. Now I'm not going to make the copy because I don't need to this time. Then it's yours. Okay, and you can put your data in. If you don't do the File Make a Copy, then this is a worthless thing, because you can't enter your own data, you can't do calculations, you can't do anything with it. So you got to do that. Then it gets put into, if you have a Google account, it gets put into your Google Docs. And if you don't know how to do that, I can show you how to work with it. And I think Anna can too, right? Okay. And that works. And I made sure that this does everything we need in the class, just about. So for example, let's just do a fun one. Put in the chat box. How about, I'm just trying to think about a good statistical question I can ask you. It's called quantitative. Okay, put in the chat box, how many college courses have you taken in your lifetime? So a number, and put it in the chat box. So how many have you taken? Type in the number, put it in the chat box, and I'll. Okay, so we got one, I got 12. 12, 45, 15, 12. 45, that's a lot. 15, 12, 47, 11, 11. And 30, and there may be more, but I don't want to do all day long typing these in. So I tried to make this easy. So you'll notice that the one thing you do have to know how to do is move your eyeballs. So right now you're looking at at column A. You move your eyeballs a little bit on column D. You'll see the minimum was 11. You'll see the mean was about 22.875. The sample variance, which again we'll talk about on Thursday, was this 243 number. The sample standard deviation, the median, the maximum, Q3, and we'll get to this another time. Q1, there's all kinds of stuff in here. Okay, and I'll show you on Thursday how to use some of these other guys. It'll take a little more work. There's also a histogram shown. So what I've done is I've programmed a Google Sheets based calculator. So you have a calculator. This does everything. The only thing it doesn't do, because it's not something I could just do, it doesn't do like basic calculations, like 5 times 7. So if you want to do that, just do a new tab. You can do 5 times 7, and it'll tell you 35. You can enter and it'll look like the calculator. So if you have it, if you don't know that, if you're in Chrome, then Google has a really nice calculator that it just knows that it's a calculator, even though you didn't ask it to be a calculator. You have to know that multiplication is asterisk, that division is under the question mark thing, slash, I think they call it. Okay, and then power is shift 6, as they call it, a caret. So you have to know those things, but otherwise that's it. And you can use just basic calculator that way. But for a statistics calculator, this does everything a lot easier than the T84. And what I'm trying to do is figure out a way to make this work for your tests also. And I think I can do it. I have a plan, and we'll see if it'll work by the time you take a test. But it'll definitely work on your quizzes. So if you have questions, again, you can always ask, and I'm always happy to answer. But I wanted to show you this. Let's see if there's any more questions. No. Okay, let's get back to syllabus. Okay, so if you have a learning disability, then I have a link to the Disability Resource Center, and they'll work with you, and we'll make sure whatever accommodations that are needed will be met. Okay, I also have an email and a phone number that you can use to contact them. And they're really nice people, and they'll help you out. Tutoring. Tutoring has totally changed. We used to be in the library, and we're not in the library anymore. Now we're in something called Cranium Cafe. And what you do is you hit this link, and that'll get you to the tutor. And there'll be LTCC tutors many hours of the day. I don't have the statistics hours yet, but we'll have some in a minute. The other thing you can do, if you scroll up, you'll see to the left, it says free online tutoring. Okay, they're not LTCC students. They're actually, I think they're based in Florida. And they're 24/7. They're even open on Christmas. I don't quite understand why. Who needs statistics tutoring on Christmas? But you never know, I guess. But if you're a night owl, then they'll help you out at 3 in the morning. So they can help you out, but what they don't know is they don't know my specific requirements. They know statistics well, but they don't, like, if you say, I have a question about project 1, can you help? They'll have no idea what you're talking about. So you have to explain what you need statistics-wise, and they can help you with statistics. But they're not, they don't know our college. So again, there's 2 kinds of tutors. If you can, the Cranium Cafe, that's our college ones, and that'll be better because they're more familiar with our classes. Okay, now the embedded tutoring statement. So, Anna, you need to unmute yourself. It's your chance.
Hi guys, my name is Anna. I'm the embedded tutor for Larry's class, and this is my second time working with him, second quarter, but first time online. I have a question for all of you guys. I'll be in class every class, but I was wondering what is the best time for you guys as a group? Because I'm trying to figure it out, a schedule that will work best for everyone. It can be Sundays through Fridays. Just let me know what would be a good range of time so I can work out a schedule and see how we can get through this together. I'll be in every class, and I'll have my hours at the Cranium Cafe that I can help you guys with homework. I can help you guys understand something that you didn't understand or help you with your projects. I'm here to be a support role for Larry and help you guys get through this hard time. And I know this class is needed for most of you guys to graduate or to transfer. So we'll try to work out a schedule that works with most people, and we can work on everything. But it's very important to watch all of Larry's full-length lectures. That at least helped me out a lot to understand better. It helped you out with the quizzes. It helps you out with the classes. So if everyone could just write some days or some range of times that would be best for you on the chat, that would be very good.
Yeah, and Anna will also be looking at the Q&A form, right, Anna? The Q&A form,
Q&A.
the discussion board.
Yes, I'm looking at it.
Yeah, so she'll also be looking at those. So if I don't get to it first, she'll be able to answer also.
You can direct message me if you don't want to ask for everyone, and I'll do my best to answer you as quick as possible. And if everyone could log into the Cranium Cafe, try to get used to it. I'm still not added to the library part, so I already emailed Melanie, and I'll be added to the online part. And you see on Cranium Cafe under library all the tutors, and I'll have the time for you guys. Would you guys like some time before or after class? I'm trying to adapt, otherwise I'll just make up a schedule and I'll give you guys the schedule on Thursday. Okay. So most people afternoons. After class. Okay. I can do that. Would after class be better for everyone or before class? Afternoons, I prefer. Okay. Sounds good.
Definitely Thursday after class, because remember Tuesday after class I have my
Mhm.
office hours, which is fine to have both of us. But if I'm not there, it'd be nice if you're there.
Sounds good. Thursday after class, so I'll start this Thursday after class, Monday, Wednesday. And I'll do probably Monday, Wednesday afternoons because everyone says afternoons work best. So I'll try to do probably 2 to 5 or 3 to 6, depending. We'll see how the quarter goes and how we can all adapt. I can adapt my hours to help you guys.
Okay, thanks, Anna. I think I want to get moving a little bit. Let me, yeah. Okay, so Anna's great, by the way, so she'll definitely be able to help you, by the way. She knows her statistics. Okay, just a word on honesty, don't cheat. We'll catch you. So that's important. This is the schedule. So today we're introductions and chapter 1. Chapter 1's the easiest, kind of a gentle chapter. A lot of vocabulary, but that's about it. And then Thursday we'll do chapter 2. And then I'll let you read through and we'll have all kinds of different things. And then here's some thoughts about how to succeed in a math class. Just to let you know, towards the bottom of the syllabus is all of the assignments. Okay, what it doesn't show yet, because I haven't written it yet, is, oh, it does actually. It shows it, but there's nothing in it yet. I put it up there, but I haven't put problems in there yet. So you're not going to be able to get to Thursday's quiz until the moment it opens, which is at 1:05 on Thursday. So it'll be blocked until then. So it's real time. And then it has to be done at 1:25. Okay. The other piece that's really helpful in this class is the modules page. So if you click modules, the first is course information, which is basically a lot of the stuff that I've shown you on the syllabus. Okay. And then week 1, which we're in now, if you click that, what I've done is it starts out with all the content, including the book, including the videos. I have PowerPoints that go with the videos. I have a handout that we'll be working on in class. And I also have, then we have the assignments. So notice due on the 12th are the chapter 1 and 2 assignments, but you really, on chapter 1, you want to do it a little earlier so you're ready for this quiz on the 9th. Okay, and that's pretty much the class. The other thing I want to mention, if you go to discussions, there's what's called a Q&A forum. And that's where you put any question you've got that isn't about the project, because there's special project forums. But this is where any other question you have on how to do some statistics problem, or I don't understand what this terminology is, or whatever you have about the class, you pop it in here. So if it's private, you email me. But if it's not private, I want you to use this instead. And that way, Anna or I can answer it. Okay, or you could answer each other's too if you see it. If you see someone else's, you know the answer to it, you could answer it. So anyone can reply. Okay, so use it a lot. Again, I'm adjusting to this online environment, and this is one of the ways I've adjusted. So any questions? I think we should take a 5-minute break. Just to be nice, because we're supposed to do that anyway in a regular class. So let's take a in a regular class, we'd probably take a 10-minute break, but I think online 5 is probably enough. There's nowhere really to go. We're just sitting at home. We're not even allowed out. So do you want to take a 5-minute break? Okay, I'll keep the Zoom on, but you're just going to be staring at, you know, my couch. Okay, it's 2:11 according to my clock, and I'll come back at 2:16. Sound good? That way you can get a drink, use the restroom, whatever it is. Take care of your little child because there's no school anymore. So I'll be back, and I think I'll even stop the share. And pause the recording. There we go. Okay, now we're being recorded again. So welcome back. We're going to spend the rest of the time instead of just talking about in general what the class will be about. Now we're going to do statistics. Okay. And one of the things I really like about this class, it's why I like teaching this class and why I always ask to teach it, is that it's very easy every day to bring in whatever's going on in the world and talk about how statistics could be used to better understand it. And this is weird times. You go to the news, whatever. There's only one thing in the whole world going on. What is that? If you guys don't know, you've been asleep. So there's only one thing going on. It was really easy to find things about it. What I'm hoping is that we eventually have other things going on in the world. Otherwise, this will be like the coronavirus class, because it's hard to find anything in the news actually that isn't about the virus. It's a little weird. But I figured since that's the big thing now, we might as well talk about that and talk about how you can use statistics to understand it and the issues behind that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to share my screen again to a news article. By the way, if you have someone in the background, please mute yourself. Okay, good. Okay, so I like to bring in a news article, and again, there's only one thing in the news. It's a weird world out there right now. But there are a lot of different articles about it. There are a lot of choices for me to pick for this particular class. And I figured since, I don't know about all of you, but some of you are probably younger, not younger meaning 8 years old, by the way, that's not what they're talking about. They're talking about college age, kind of younger. And as younger Americans view coronavirus outbreak more as a major threat to finances than to health. That's interesting. So they're more concerned about their finances than their health when it comes to coronavirus. And I totally understand that. If you look at statistics, it's actually, there's a much, much higher percent of people getting affected financially than getting affected health-wise. But I want to read this a little bit. And it says the coronavirus outbreak has impacted life for millions of Americans, but has not affected people in the same way. Older Americans are more likely than younger adults to feel their own health as a risk, while younger people are more focused on potential economic threats. All right, so there's a lot of things to look at here. And they even gave a chart on it, okay? What percent for each of the different age brackets. I think that economic is more important, health is more important, etc. And the question I have is, do they know that these percents are true? They said so, right? They put it in the article. Do they know, for example, that of people that are 18 to 29 years old, that 32% of them think that coronavirus to them is a big, major threat, but it's not a major threat to their health. It's a major economic threat, but not a health threat. Do they know that 32% of all Americans between 18 and 29 feel this way? What do you think? My voice keeps getting quiet. Uh-oh. That might mean there's an internet issue. Okay, so you're all saying yes. Okay. So I got some bad news for you. You're all wrong. The answer is they don't know. They don't know. Is there anyone between 18 and 29 years old in this group? Anyone here between 18 and 29 years old? Okay, but she said yes. Okay. Say yes if they asked you. Say no if they didn't ask you. So did they ask you? Those who are in that age bracket. Okay, then how do they know? How do they know about all Americans? They didn't even ask you. Okay, and the answer is they don't know about all Americans because they didn't ask you. Does that make sense? Okay, so you can't know about all Americans because it's too hard to ask everyone. I don't know if you realize, but there's over 300 million Americans. And to ask everyone, no one's got that time. Okay, we're in the middle of a census right now, and we're supposed to ask everyone the census, and that's just 2 quick questions or 3 quick questions, and not everyone's replying to that one. So here's the problem is that you can't know. So what does the 32% represent if they don't know about all Americans? Any ideas? Yeah, it's 32% of those asked. Okay, this is from the sample. So now comes a harder question. Okay, I know they didn't ask any of you, okay, because none of you said yes. Okay, and I was pretty sure of that, by the way. We got millions and millions of people between 18 and 29. We only asked 1,000 or 2. That's how many they asked, it turns out. But here's the question. Is the sample reliable? Okay, yeah, false deaths and illness rates. Is the sample reliable? Okay, do you think that maybe it's not 32%, but do you think it's likely to be close to 32%? Or do you think they're way off? Is the big question. In terms of the way people, 18 to 29-year-olds think about major economic being the issue and not health when it comes to coronavirus. Okay, they don't know exactly, but if they did their work right, the 32% is probably a good estimate. And in a way, that's what this entire course is about, is how to decide whether it's a good estimate or not. So the first thing you have to do when you are deciding to do a sample is you have to decide who you're going to ask. Because you can't ask everyone, because no one's got the time and money to ask millions and millions of people. So you have to do a sample, and you want your sample to be representative of all Americans between 18 and 29. Any suggestions on how you get who you choose? Let's say you choose 1,000 people. How are you going to decide which 1,000 people to ask? Lots of variety. Now, how are you going to choose a variety? What does variety even mean? You see the problem? So this is a very deep question. We're going to spend some time on it. And the first thing is, okay, right, you're going to look at maybe class, maybe race. You might want to look at political affiliation. That might change things too. You might want to look at income, since we're asking about economic health. Okay. Different areas, different states, different types of locales, like cities versus, urban versus rural. There's all kinds of different things you can ask. Okay. Now you only have so much time, so you can't do it all. Okay. Now this 32, this is the percentage of the people they asked. Okay. When it's a number that comes from who you surveyed, that is called a statistic. So that's very, very important. And it's so important. Not this one. Because I want to write it out for you. Since Hopefully you all know what's the name of this course. If you don't know the name of the course, what's the name of this class?
Statistics.
Yeah, statistics. So probably the word statistic is important. So let's define it. A statistic is a number that comes from the sample. And in fact, let me give you some examples. Some examples are the average. In our class, we're going to call it the mean. And that's a statistic. The range from the sample, not from the population, but from the sample. The range is the highest minus the lowest. The minimum, that's a statistic. These are all numbers that come from the sample, right? The maximum. Okay, and I'm just gonna write dot, dot, dot. There's a whole lot more we'll talk about. A bunch we'll talk about on Thursday. Okay, now that's if it comes from the sample. Okay, this is actually the year 2020. And it turns out in the Constitution of the United States, we are required to not just do a statistic, but actually do a parameter. Let me explain what that means. Let me write it out. A parameter is a number that comes from the entire population. Okay, anyone know in the Constitution of the United States of America? I know this isn't a history class, or a political science class, but it's still a good thing to know. It's the year 2020. And what does it say? What parameter must we get? In our Constitution. 100%? No, but what parameter? The word parameter means 100% of everyone. But what is it? What parameter must we get? The election, not quite election, actually. C to C, no, maybe I'll tell you. We need to get the number of people living in each community. Okay, that's what the Constitution of the United States says. And that's called the census. You've all heard of census, I hope, right? And we're actually in the year of the census because it's every 10 years we have to do that. It's a lot of work, by the way. So by the way, if you haven't filled out your census information, you should. It's private and it gives you better representation for where you live. So do that. And that way they'll actually have a parameter, which is a number from the whole population. So it's very difficult to get that when it comes to all Americans because we're talking about hundreds of millions. Sometimes you can get a parameter when you have a small population size. So that would be, for example, if you wanted to look at the total, you can't even do sports anymore. This whole coronavirus makes life hard. I did it last year. If you want to look at the average amount of runs scored per game for the San Francisco Giants. Well, you could do that because they only played 162 games. So you can get the number of runs scored for each of the games and find the average. And that would be a parameter. Okay, so if you can get the whole population, then the number we get is called a parameter. If you can't, if you're only getting the sample, we call it a statistic. Any questions on this vocabulary? In fact, let me bold-faced statistics to let you know that that's what we're defining, and bold-faced parameter. Okay, so those are important, and you definitely could be tested on this. All right, so that we know. The next thing, again, the parameter they got here, this 32. What is that 32? What does it represent? Does that mean there were 32 people that said yes? Yeah, it's a percent. Okay, and this is another huge part of this class. You won't pass this class if you can't get this down. And it's not hard, but it's something you have to focus on. And that is when you're looking at the survey question, there's a few different types. So the survey question here basically was, do you think that major economics is important, but health is not important, okay? Or a primary threat, I guess would be the right word, for you when it comes to the coronavirus, the COVID-19. And let me ask you the question. Do you think that major economic threat is primary, but health for you is not a primary threat in terms of COVID-19? I can't answer the chat box to my question. So the question is, do you think that major economic is a threat, but health is not a threat for you to coronavirus? That's the question. You have to answer that question. Okay. Okay. The answer is, do you? Okay. Good. You answer with a no or a yes. And that's really important to be able to look at a survey question and know that the answer is a no or a yes. Okay. So very important. So in particular, we're going to look at types of survey questions. Okay, the first is going to be the yes, no. Okay, I don't think I need to define what it means to be a yes, no answer because it means that either you said yes or no. Does that make sense? Okay. The second that I want to talk about is what's called quantitative. And that would be, let me ask another question for y'all. Actually, I'll even remind you of a question I already asked. I asked you, how many classes have you taken as a college student? And the answers were not yes or no. What were answers like when I said, how many classes have you taken? Yeah, they were numbers. They were all numbers. So when you're looking at a study, you have to be able to think about what the survey question was. And then you got to think about what the answer to the survey question is. I recommend, at least in your head, asking the question to yourself and answering it to yourself. And see whether you say a number or do you say yes, no, or something else. So quantitative means the answer to the survey question is a number. Any questions on that? Just to let you know, in chapter 4, we're going to break up quantitative into 2 different groups, but I'm going to wait on that one in terms of discussing it. So you won't be, it's talked about in chapter 1 a little bit, but chapter 4 is when we spend the whole chapter on it. So I'm going to wait on that. Okay, then there's another type. So let me ask you, what state or country were you born in? Okay, and by the way, the rule in this class is that you have to give me an answer, but you don't have to tell the truth. Okay, but if you say something, be reasonable. Don't say Mars. Okay, so notice none of these answers are yes or no. None of these answers are numbers. Do you agree? A lot of Californians, and then there's a bunch of others, right? There's El Salvador, and there's Mexico, and then a bunch of others. Let's see, what else do you see? North Carolina. Okay, I was born in California, by the way. Okay, these are words. They're not yes, no, they're not numbers. We're going to call that qualitative. And that means the answer is not a number. Okay, now the yes, no is a type of qualitative, but I'm always going to emphasize yes, no, because it's a special type. And we're going to spend some time on that. Any questions on this? So let me remind you, see this 32? It might feel like a number, but this is a yes, no question. Just because you see a number does not mean that it is quantitative. Is that clear? Because a survey question is, do you think that economics is a major threat, but health is not a major threat to you in terms of coronavirus, in terms of COVID-19? Okay, and it's yes, no. And this 32 is a proportion of yeses. Not what is a proportion of yeses. The survey question is, do you think this is a threat and this isn't a threat? Any questions on this idea? Okay. I want to let you know this is going to be something that you are going to have to do just about every day of this entire class. So if you can't get that down, it'll be very bad for you. It's not hard, but you just got to have it in your brain all the time in this class. So promise me you will. Any questions at all on this example, this idea? Okay, now comes a harder question. Okay. Let's suppose that you were in charge of this study. Let's say you're going to be doing it. By the way, this study was done. It was not done on April 7th, actually. It was done at the end of March. There we go, March 19th through 24th. Now, things have changed since then. Hopefully you all know that with coronavirus. So you want to do another study. Okay, you don't have a lot of time to do it, so you're not going to be able to ask everyone in the country. Let's say you have a team of people, you can ask 1,000 people. How are you going to decide who are you going to ask? Very specifically, what's your strategy for asking people? Any thoughts? Okay, very specific strategy. What are you going to do? There's not like the correct answer. You can do a survey, but who are you going to survey? Which 1,000 people? You can do people between, let's say you're just going to do people, and then you'll worry about age categories, going to break those up. Yeah, but what does it mean to be representative? And how are you going to make it representative, Michael? An equal number in specific age groups. Okay, you could do that. Okay, similar to your population. How are you going to do that? We're talking Americans, very specific. Subcategories, but be specific. Anyone who's going to answer? Okay. You could use Facebook, good. You could ask college students, okay. So I want to mention something. So let me start out with Michelle's idea, anyone who could answer. And that is, that's what we call, let me write this out. So these are survey techniques. Okay, so the anyone can answer is the first one we'll look at. Okay, and that's called convenience sampling. That means anyone who could answer. Let's see, who will answer is where you put it. Are there any issues with convenience sampling? And what are the issues? Not organized. But what's that mean? It's definitely not organized, but that's not it. It's not about organized. It doesn't represent. The problem is we're going to say it has bias. Okay, bias means the study or the sample statistic are not representative of the population statistics. So for example, and the big example is going to be, for this example, is the proportion of people you ask who say yes to it's an economic threat but not a health threat is likely to be probably, say, lower than the proportion of the population who would answer that. Okay, which means that your number doesn't help you very much. It's not a good estimate of the population. Any questions on that? So the first thing is convenience sampling should be avoided if you want to do a professional study. Okay, if you really want to rely on your data. So avoid this for professional studies. So in other words, if you care about the data and the results, don't do it. All right, so now there's some other ways. So we don't want to do convenience sampling. So now let's look at some other sample techniques. And I don't know if anyone specifically said one. Some said representative, but that's not specific enough. Okay, subcategory is also not very specific. By the way, ask people on Facebook, that's convenience sampling. Kind of read through what other people said, and there are a lot of convenience samplings. Okay, do another type. One is you identify where you think there might be bias. So my thought, especially if we're going to group by ages, so that won't be the technique of sampling, how old they are as part of their study. Okay, you can pay to have survey ads to be placed evenly among social media. That's still convenience sampling. Then it's whoever is looking at social media at the time is going to click. Do you see the problem? Yeah, we could do, say, regional. Let's say you're worried about state by state. For example, people in Alabama think very differently than people in California. Any of you been to Alabama? Spent some time there? Okay, they have very different. Again, I'm not gonna say bad or good, but they're different. Okay, and they're probably more likely to worry about their economic situation than their health. Okay, I can just tell you because of they have a big obesity problem there, and they don't really care about it that much. Okay, so what we can do is we can use what's called stratified sampling. And it's stratified. That's what I had. So stratified sampling means identify types that will cause a bias. And that in this example, we're going to say the state you live in could cause a bias. Because if we only ask Californians, that might be different than if we ask people only from Alabama. Then research the proportion of the population of each type. In this case, type means what state you live in. Okay. Multiply the proportion by the sample size and use these numbers to establish quotas for each type. So for example, somewhere around, let's say 10%, I don't know if it's exactly, but something like that. 10% of Americans live in California. So if we wanted to survey 1,000 people, 10% of 1,000 is 100. So we're going to make sure that 100 of ours in the survey will be Californians. Okay, let's say 1% live in Alabama, then 1% of 1,000 is 10, and we're going to ask 10 Alabamans. Okay, and then we're going to go to all 50 states, maybe do territories if you want to include them, and do the same thing and make that happen. And then what you will make sure is you don't have bias by state they people live in. Any questions on this idea? Okay. Let's suppose that let's suppose the only way we can really do this right is a in-person sample. Why is stratified sampling maybe not going to work for us? Any thoughts? If you had to do it in person, if you had to go to each person and ask them. So why is stratified sampling not going to work? Actually, it's not confined to a location. We're going to have 50 different locations. We have 50 states in America. Traveling is illegal for one thing. Okay, we're going to pretend. We're going to pretend that we're not in this horrible situation. We're not allowed to travel. In fact, we're going to pretend that President Trump said this was essential business. So it's not that it's illegal, but imagine if you had to do it and pay for it. It's very expensive to travel to 50 states. Do you agree? And very time consuming. So stratified sampling can often not be doable. So another way of doing it is what's called cluster sampling. Okay, and what you do is, because you can't go to all 50 states, it just takes way too much time. Maybe you're going to pick maybe 5 representative states. Okay, maybe you're going to pick a West Coast state, and maybe you're going to pick not even a state, but you're going to pick a neighborhood on the West Coast, and then maybe a neighborhood in the South. And you're going to maybe pick 4 different neighborhoods and make sure that the neighborhoods are representative of the population. So then you're going to go to those neighborhoods and you're going to survey everybody in those neighborhoods. That's a lot less time intensive. Do you agree? Because you only have 4 places to go. Okay, so that's what cluster sampling is. That means select a few, by the way, not one, not just one. Select a few subgroups of the population that are representative of the population, and then survey everyone in those selected, we're going to call them clusters, the clusters of those groups. Let me give an example that you know about where this is done a lot. Let's suppose instead of trying to do all Americans, let's suppose we wanted to do college students at Lake Tahoe Community College. And let's suppose we wanted to say a sample size of, I don't know, maybe 80 students. What are the natural clusters to use? Any thoughts? If you're doing college students, there's definitely natural clusters. Yeah, classes. So then you're going to pick just different classes that are probably representative. Okay. So you're going to pick some day students, some night students, maybe some online students. Okay. And there's still going to be bias. And in fact, there's actually one type of student you are not allowed to ask. Okay. The only way, really, or one of the only ways you can ask them is if you killed someone first. You know what I'm talking about? Yeah, incarcerated students. Okay, you either have to kill someone, or I guess you could become a prison guard. um, so you're going to have bias at LTCC no matter what, because hopefully none of you are going to kill anyone and go in prison. So you're not going to be able to go to the prison. So there's going to be groups that you can't ask, and that's just life. So if you ever think there's no bias, you're wrong. Okay, every study's got some bias. All right, now let's talk about sampling that could not have bias. Okay, and I don't mean LTC students anymore, not even people anymore. So let's suppose now we want to, I'll do an example that I had to personally help with. I did some consulting work. I've done a lot of statistical consulting work. And the example is the following. It was a former student of mine, and he ended up becoming the owner of a big towel manufacturer. So he made towels, and he wanted to show his towels are better than the ones made in China. So he needed to take a sample of his towels. So what we needed to do is we needed to come up with a way to sample his towels. Okay, so let me show you what we did, or explain what we did. He had an assembly line. And what I had him do is take every 200th towel off that assembly line and test it. The test caused some damage to the towel, so you can't just do them all because he can't ruin his business. But every 200th he was able to go with. Okay, that has a special name, and that's called systematic sampling. And what that means is order all of the population. And then select every nth person or item, whatever you're surveying. And that's called systematic. And the idea is it's basically free of bias if you can do that. Why can't you do it with Americans? Say we want to do the American study again. Why can't you do systematic sampling? What's the problem? Every 200 person not the same. I'm not sure what you mean by that. People move, that's not the problem. Not everyone will answer, that's a problem actually. But there's a way around not everyone will answer. There's a different problem that no one's coming up with. Maybe I'll have you do it as a project. I'm gonna have you order everyone. Tell me how you can do that. Okay, give me a list of all people in America. Can you do that? Yeah, you can't. There's no list of everybody. So we can't do it. Is that clear? So systematic sampling works really well in manufacturing. It does not work well in people surveys and a lot of other surveys too. So it works well when you can do manufacturing. It can work well with, let's say you want to do weather. Then you can take like every 10th day you look at the weather, and that's systematic. Is that clear? But it doesn't work when you have a population you can't even get a hold of. You can't even list. Okay, then there's random sampling. And that means every individual has exactly, and let me write every individual from the population, has exactly the same probability of being selected or being part of the sample. Okay, that's also impossible for all Americans. You come up with a way, let me know. Good luck. So I want to let you know, and this is an important thing, on project 1, if you think you did a random sample, think again. It's not going to happen. Okay, random samples are very difficult. But let me have you do another example. Okay, what I want you to do, and don't put it in the chat box until I tell you. On a piece of paper, or in your head if you don't have paper with you, I want you to write down on a paper a whole number between 1 and 10. A random whole number. Just pick a random whole number off the top of your head between 1 and 10. So pick a random number between 1 and 10. And then give you 3 seconds to do that. Doesn't take too long to think of a random number. Ready? 1, 2, 3. Okay, now I'm going to count to 3. I want you to put it in the chat box. And when I say go, hit enter. Okay, so everyone put it in the chat box, but don't hit enter yet. Give you a few seconds to put that in your chat box. Put your number in. Okay, ready, get set, hit enter. Okay, so just to note, if you truly were picking random numbers, a fifth of them should be 1 and 10, right? Do you agree? Because that's 2 out of 10 or 1/5. I've been doing this for over 20 years, and I almost never get a 1 or a 10. Take a look at your numbers. How many 1s and 10s do we see? None. Okay, so I want to let you know, even something as simple as pick a random number, you can't do it off the top of your head. People are not capable of picking a random number off the top of their head. And do we have any psychology majors here? Okay, so maybe you can tell me why, because I don't know. It's a psychology thing, it's not a math thing. But for some reason, people are not capable of picking random numbers. And it's like total psychology. Bias, I'm not sure what's happened in the brain, but something's happening. Okay, so even something as simple as picking a random number off the top of your head, you can't. If you needed to pick a random number, how would you do that? Any thoughts? Okay, roll a die wouldn't go between 1 and 10 though. Yeah, if you say pick a number from 1 to 10, that's 1 and 10 count, by the way. Yeah, dice don't work from 1 to 10, by the way. That's 1 to 6. Okay, let me tell you how you could do it, and you probably all know how to do this. How many of you have how many of you have a cell phone? A smartphone? All of you, right? So just ask your smartphone. Just say, give me a random number between 1 and 10. Can a smartphone do it? Yeah, yeah. And by the way, the reason why is too deep for this class. I'm a programmer, I know how, and I know why, but I can't explain it to you. But I will tell you that it can be done. So really the only way of getting true random numbers is with a computer. And smartphones are computers, by the way, even if you don't think of them as one, they're computers. So what you can do is if you want to get, say, random people at LTCC, you can list all the people at LTCC in a computer, give them a number from 1 to however many people we've got, and then have the computer select those people. And then you have to go survey everyone. You have to make sure they answer your survey. How do you make sure that someone answers your survey? Yeah, bribe. Yeah, you can actually. So let me give you an example. This was many years ago, but I still remember it. I got a phone call saying, if you answer our survey, we'll give you $100. What do you think I said? And it was not a long survey, by the way. Yeah, absolutely. That was the easiest $100 I ever made in my life. Okay. Yeah, they still could decline, but if you give them enough money, they won't. It turns out another way of doing it is called totalitarianism. And the funny thing is, it happens in America. And here's how it happens. It happens in colleges. If the professor tells you to do something, you do it, and it's part of our culture. If I say fill out the survey in class, especially in a face-to-face class, you'll all do it. It's just part of the standard. So there are ways of doing it, and that's a way of doing it. Is you have the boss or the person in charge make everyone do it. So you could do it financially, or you could do it socially. Any questions on that? So notice this is pretty deep. It's very hard to get a perfect survey, but you do your best. Any questions on any of these sampling techniques? Any questions? Not too bad? Okay. Again, it's actually the hardest part of statistics, but not the hardest part of the class. It's the hardest part of like building surveys. It's very hard to get a good unbiased sample. Okay, so the last thing I want to talk about is just tables, and they're pretty easy. And I think I'll do it this way. And we could do it with this 2var stat. Okay, so I'm going to ask you another survey question because I have to ask questions. And I want you to type in the box, including yourself. How many siblings are in your family? Okay, so you all put it in. Okay, so by the way, no one ever answers my answer. Any guess on how many siblings I have in my family? Including myself? 4.5. So I want to remind you, halves can happen. Right? Is that possible, by the way? Yeah, there's Laura. You don't know her, but that's my half sibling. So the point is that it can be halves, but you can't have all the numbers in between. You can't have a third of a sibling, but you can have a half sibling. Okay. But what I want to look at with this data, I just wanted to mention that because we'll go over that again, is we can look at the data, but I don't want to put all these numbers in. What I want to do is I want to just count them. So there was one spreadsheet. One person said 1. For 2, there was always easy, just need to scroll. Here we go. We had 2 people. Hope they're not all the same number. 2, and there were 2 people that said 2. Okay, 3. There was 1 person that said 3. These last numbers were about how many siblings I have question. And then 4, there were 3 people that said 4. And then 5, there was 1 that said 5. Any questions so far? Okay, this is called a frequency table, where the first column of the table represents the data value, and the second column of the table represents the frequency that that data value occurred. Any questions on what a frequency table is? Just to let you know, if you're using my spreadsheet and you scroll, the mean, which is the average, was 3.125. So what we can say is that the average number of siblings, at least for those that answered, is 3.125. Can you have 3.125 siblings? So what do the two columns represent? The first column are the data values, and the second column are the frequency at which the data value occurred. Does that make sense? Hopefully that makes sense. Again, the second column is how many times someone said that. And the first column is what was said. Okay, so can you have 3.125 siblings? No. So I want to mention, does that mean we have to round this to 3 to make sense? Okay, the answer is no. Okay, the mean does not have to be a number that can possibly occur. And this is an example of that. Okay, the mean is an average. So it's allowed to be a decimal that can't happen. Okay, but you should understand what it means. So it means the average is a little more than 3 siblings a person in each family. Any questions on that? Okay, the standard deviation I'm going to talk about on Thursday. Okay, that's a big part of Thursday, so we'll get there. Any questions at all about this table? Okay, I want to mention something else. And maybe I'll do it. That is here. And that is under chapter 1. I have an example in the book, and let's do it together. Okay, so I built this one. Okay, and these are randomized, by the way. Okay, so it says table 1.1.4.4 shows a frequency table with missing values. Let's see if we can enter in the missing values. So there's a lot of missing values to enter. So how do we decide all these numbers? So I want to mention what these mean. Frequency is the number of times it occurred. The relative frequency is the number of times it occurred divided by the total. And the cumulative relative frequency is the number of times it or anything below it occurred divided by a total. Any questions on that? Okay, so let's fill in this table. So in this relative frequency, we have a 3 for the first number. How do we find the relative frequency for that particular value for the first? Any thoughts on how we do that? I just kind of said it, but I talk about it. Yeah, we divide it by 20. Okay, so we take 3 divided by 20, which is 0.15. Any questions on that so far? Okay, the cumulative relative frequency, we take at or below, well, there is only that number, so it's still 0.15. Any questions on that so far? All right, how do we get the frequency for the second number? If we know the relative frequency. Okay, right, so we know that the frequency divided by 20 equals 0.3. So that means the frequency is equal to 0.3 times 20. Very basic algebra. And 0.3 times 20 is 6. Okay, any questions on that? What is the cumulative relative frequency for this second number? Any thoughts? Okay, what that means is that we've accumulated that amount by looking at the relative frequencies at or below. Well, if you look at or below the second, that's 0.3 and 0.15. If you add those together, you get 0.45. Anyone lost? It's a little bit of math that we're doing in this class today. Okay, now we need to go from the cumulative relative frequency and get the other stuff. All right, so if the cumulative relative frequency is 0.65, how do we get the relative frequency? Any ideas? Yeah, that's 0.2, because we needed to add 0.2 to 0.45 to get 0.65. How do we get the frequency now that we know 0.2 is a relative frequency? Yeah, 0.2 times 20, which is 4. Okay, now we need to get the very last row. How do we get the frequency for the fourth number? Any thoughts? Yeah, so let me not skip the steps. You got it right, but let me explain how to do this. Well, we know the total is 20, and we can say, well, we had the first was 3, the second was 6, so now that's 9. The third was 4, we're up to 13. So if we want the total to be 20 and we're only at 13, we need to add 7 more. Okay, now that we have the frequency, we can get the relative frequency. What's the relative frequency? Yeah, so what we do is we say 7 over 20, which is 0.35. You're always allowed a calculator, by the way, okay, or a computer. Okay, now the cumulative relative frequency, I don't need not to even know any of these numbers. What must be the cumulative relative frequency for the very last item? Must be 1. At or below must be 100%. Any questions on that? And let's check our work. You could use Desmos, yes, that will work. But there's a learning curve for that, so I want to let you know that that might be a little harder. My spreadsheet I built just for this class, whereas Desmos is for all classes. Okay, and by the way, I had a very small part in Desmos. I've met the programmers and I worked with them a tiny bit. They're in San Francisco. Yeah, good people. Okay, any questions at all on this idea of relative frequency, cumulative relative frequency, or anything else in the class? Okay, any guess on what it means that I just stopped sharing my screen? Yeah, we're done. Okay, but I want to let you know I'm moving into office hours. I might take a couple minute break, but I'm always happy to answer questions. and whatever you guys need, you know, whatever question it might be. I won't always have the answer. Like if you say, you know, when will the vaccine, you know, happen? I don't know. So you could ask. I won't always have the answer, but I know my statistics really well. I can tell you some statistics about it though, because I have looked at that. When will you be posting the lecture? Yeah, in fact, let me end the tape because we don't need it on just the question time. Stop recording.